Today's reaction video is a special request from Silly Creature Sally, who's asked us to react to Why I Needed Surgery and My Surgery Went Horribly Wrong by Kaitlyn Flames. She's an underrated animation YouTuber. This is our first audience requested video, and I'm really excited to watch both of these videos. I'm a dentist with 7 years of experience, and we're going to react to these videos with a dental perspective.
You know how a lot of people are scared of going to the dentist?
Yeah.
I was not one of them. In fact, I had a pretty good relationship with my dental care. I get to skip school and I get a cheap dollar store toy afterwards. Mother, take me to the tooth man right now. One time after my routine checkup, I even said, I'm gonna take 2 this time because I was really well behaved. So they gave me like 5. That was a good day. Anyway, this all changed drastically when I was around 9. We had just moved countries and I started to have a really bad toothache. At first I was like, okay, this is normal. That just means it's gonna fall out. Then it got to a point where I wouldn't want to eat, and as a bonus, it turned purple.
9-year-old Kaitlyn would have had what we call the mixed dentition. So that means she's got some baby teeth and some adult teeth. And when a baby tooth is getting closer to coming out, sometimes they can become hollow from the inside as the adult tooth comes through. And when that happens, the inside of the tooth can decay. Also, sometimes the gums can swell up inside the tooth, and that can also contribute to the color. So you've got some gray color and some red color, and that can make it look a little bit purple.
Of course, my parents noticed and asked me if I wanted to go to the dentist, but to their surprise, I said no. Look, the dentist in Canada was the only one I had up till that point. I didn't trust some random other dentist to help with my boo-boo. My dad eventually convinced me to go by saying the new dentist was a friend of his and it'll just be a quick checkup. So we went, and for the first time in my life, I felt fear. I don't know why. This literally never happened before. But the more we waited, the sounds of the tools, the posters that look like they've been there before I was even born, and even the TV started to increase my panic. The assistant noticed the look of absolute terror on my face, so she tried to calm me down by saying, "Don't worry, you won't feel a thing."
Oh no. I've already kind of discussed this in a previous video. We have to be really careful how we phrase things to kids in particular, and just saying those words makes the patient think that there's something that could hurt. Sometimes acting more nonchalant about it can actually be helpful and reassure the patient that it's a normal procedure and it'll be okay.
Little lady, it's your turn. Oh my god, I'm so dead. Hello there. Open wide, let me see that tooth.
Wow, that's a big mouth.
Nothing too serious. Just needs to be pulled out. Why don't you take a seat? Now, not to brag or anything, but I was the fastest kid in my elementary school. So... Did she just... In my defense, the first thing I saw when I walked into that room were the hints of what happened to the previous patient.
Oh, okay. We've got some cotton rolls, some luxators, and some forceps. It actually looks like there's forceps for lower teeth and upper teeth. The previous patient probably had more than one tooth removed. That should have all been cleaned up before Kaitlyn had gone into the room, because that's a infection control issue.
Eventually, I did go back to get my tooth pulled.
That's very reminiscent of the Jaden Animations video that we saw, where Jaden animated the dentist holding a giant needle above his head like that. So, you know, when they're in the chair, that's how it feels.
But then all was good. I'm just kidding. He pulled out the wrong one. We had to go back twice.
Well,
your choice of
hopefully
dentist
both
is
of
as
the
bad
teeth
as your
that were
ability to
removed were
use the
baby
internet.
teeth.
Fast forward a few years later, I was in 6th grade and I started feeling really insecure about my smile. Whenever I laughed, I wouldn't just cover my mouth, I would cover my entire face. So when I found out that there was a thing called invisible braces, I immediately asked my parents if I could get some. So everything looks good, but there's one problem. I'm feeling a little bump on her palate, which typically
so
indicates
that's something that we
there's
look
a
for?
tooth under there.
What we can do in our examinations is check for the canine bulge when we suspect that the canine is going to erupt soon. Generally, you'll feel the canine bulge on the outside gum area up here. But what's happened with Kaitlyn is that her canine bulge is actually on the inside of her mouth, indicating that the tooth is further in the mouth and it's not in line with the other teeth.
There's a tooth in the middle of my mouth? This is called an impacted canine, and the only way to treat it is to perform a simple surgery where you expose the
Yep.
tooth, attach a chain to it, and over the course of a few months, slowly pull it to its proper spot. When I heard the word surgery, I instantly went into a state of denial. We asked for a second, third, and fourth opinion.
That's
The first
very. I would say they either didn't feel for the bulge or they didn't take any X-ray. So an X-ray would show up that impacted canine straight away. But you might need to take a OPG X-ray, which is that full head X-ray that we've seen in other videos. That is always taken before doing any braces, just to check the root position and overall position of all of the teeth.
Couldn't find anything and got my hopes up, but on the fourth one, since this time we had the screen turned towards us, I saw it, pointed at it, and my stomach sank. Which honestly should have been my first red flag, because in a room with 4 adults, one of them being a certified professional, why was the 12-year-old the one to point it out? Also, how did you all miss this? It was sticking out like a sore thumb. The tooth was literally chilling sideways. Y'all need to have your licenses revoked. I walked out being scheduled for surgery in 2 months. While waiting, I read everything I could find about my condition. I even found out that I was going to need braces,
13-year-old.
not the magical invisible ones. The metal train tracks that scratch your cheeks and forbid you from eating everything you like. But since I had 2 months to prepare, when the day of the surgery came, I walked in feeling a little nervous, but I shake that surgeon's hand with confidence. Little did I know that I was about to experience the biggest fear of anyone who's about to get surgery.
Oh, okay, that's part 1.
The rest of the video in the most family-friendly way